to ask you, how do you approach the long layover between games? What do you want guys doing on this mini bye and long weekend?
Well, I think it's important to really get yourself fresh. That's mind, body, and spirit. There's a lot of sacrifices that you make with family, and so you get a couple days on the weekend to engage. But then the biggest thing is, we're gonna hit it full force with our growth and development of our game collectively. This young team has shown the ability to persevere and press forward and respond to urgency. And there's got to be an urgent approach at our game and how to get better, from the three opportunities we've had so that we can, really start progressing into the win column here fast and furious.
I also want to know if there was any update on Jason Marshall since last night.
Yeah, from all the information I have so far, as we progress into that situation and get more information, my premature, probably, don't hold me to this. It's just, it's a little early for the second opinions or whatever, but it looks like more of a week, maybe week to week thing, not super extensive. But I couldn't tell you where he'll be at for this next game. We'll be working diligently to see if that's a possibility or not.
Thank you.
Hal?
Hi, Mike. I wanted to ask you about last night's game in regard to there were a few plays made that were very hurtful to your team, and they were made by some of your team leaders, your team captains. And I'm wondering, how do you handle that? Do you hold them to a higher standard since they are captains? Do you point that out in any special way in the film session? And does it have that much more of a detrimental effect on the rest of the players when it happens?
Okay, if you had to pick as to whom you'd want to make mistakes like that early in the year, all things equal, if you had to pick, and you're a supreme pessimist, so you mandated it, it'd probably be, those types of players, the leaders of the team, because what happens is like, it's not like the football gets less and less, not severe, but intense, or those types of problems become bigger and bigger issues down the stretch of the season when when all the variables come into play and you're playing for um, seeds, births, all those things. So it's kind of a blessing, for if it's going to happen, you'd want it to happen to those guys, because I will, with absolute certainty, do right by them. For them, for the leaders, for the captains of the team, they desperately need me to hold those guys to absolute accountability in front of the whole team, because those same guys are, going to be challenging and demanding that the players that they're captains of hold themselves accountable for things like that moving forward. So yeah, I don't like the heavy is the crown. So if you're a player that we depend on, if you're one of the the captains, or some of the best players on the team, I hit them between the eyes in front of the team, because part of the reason they became captains is because they responded in the appropriate way, in the development of this team in the off season. You're only as strong as your ability to not get obsessed by results, and focus on how we do things, and the consequences of certain things in certain games. So although it's a tough lesson, all those guys are the hardest on themselves. At the same time, they with absolute certainty want me to really call a spade in front of the rest of the team, because the it's a continued growth of that team. The captains need to be able to assert their pressure on the younger guys, and they need the younger guys to accept bottom line coaching in team atmospheres. So I will be approached it that way, and we'll go through all those situations. And the team has gotten better, and in a couple of weeks, and is getting to the point where you can reasonably expect to be able to go to a game on Sunday and have the expectations to win through good football. However, there's still things that we are falling short of, and we're trying to make sure that it's not the same thing over and over.
Thank you.
Isaiah?
Morning, Mike.
Morning.
Tua now has 2 games where he's averaged 5 or less yards per attempt. Just what do you attribute that to?
Well, this particular game, if you go back and watch the all 22, the Buffalo Bills, they have a NFL lead, I think. I mean, they were the first people to play nickel to everything, like they would versus all offensive personnel back in around COVID, or maybe it was like 2019. So going into this game, they did much of the same, outside of like one game in 2024. I want to say they still played nickel at everything. Well, this game they came out, and after our first drive, they lived in base defense and played 2-man to the receivers. So they're doubling the receivers, and in those situations, you're depending on the pass rush, which Buffalo has a very good pass rush. Sometimes you can't have long developing plays down the field, or you kind of have to maneuver in the pocket to get the ball, to pump the ball down the field. So I think there's a couple times, again, for the second game in a row, we kind of moved around in the pocket and got the ball down the field later to Tyreek than the timing of the play. However, I coached Tua to do that because receivers, like center fielders in baseball, if you can track the ball the fastest, you can get your feet under the ground and you can get a high percentage catch or DPI. On the play that one of their players got hurt. One of the Buffalo players got hurt when we threw the ball down the field. Tyreek got his feet underneath him, went up, and the ball went through his hands. He catches that, your yards per completion is much different. You're trying to play a effective offense, and against the Buffalo Bills, when you get a first down or two, you have to keep them going. That changes play calls a little bit. We had another opportunity on the sidelines. We didn't come down with our plus 20 throws that hurt it, but I think a lot of football you have to take what the defense is giving you. Otherwise, you're going to throw interceptions, and it's just kind of the way the game worked out or played out. And I think we probably had more 15-yard completions in one half the game before than we did against these guys. They made it a challenge. So I would say there's a multitude of things. Last game in particular, it was the defense and the ops that we didn't come up with when we did pump it down the field.
And just a quick follow-up, how would you evaluate Tua's play during these man coverage situations, right? We saw him pick up a few first downs or extend the play with his legs, and that looked very positive.
No, I think what you saw is, there was some growth from game 2 to 3 in his pocket play. He was extending plays in the appropriate time for the most part. He was able to get a critical third down with his legs and then, actually slide and protect himself. There was some good stuff that we were happy about, and then there's some stuff that he needs to get better at, because that's generally where my focus lies each and every game is how can we improve. He does a great job responding to that type of stuff. So I thought there was growth from this year's play. And that's paramount to me, specifically for him, coming off of a season where he played pretty much just the middle of it. So he's not in the stage of, he's every time he goes out, he knows for us to win, he needs to play well. But at the same time, I do want to see him master things that he has mastered, and also grow in different areas this year, because that's where he's at. He's developing the things to make him a high productive, high efficient, high yards per play, um, you know, leader of an offense, and a person that touches the ball every time. So I was happy with his what he needed to develop on, and there's always stuff that I find that he can improve on to give him tangible focus for that improvement, like what to do when there's a jailbreak situation on a pass play, in a driving situation, where to put the ball, not just how to get it out so that you don't get tattooed.
Omar?
Mike, I wanted to ask you about the defense. Obviously, when you had the top 5 unit last year, the expectations were high. There are new pieces, new players, even guys in the secondary who are new or didn't work in training camp. Where would you say their level of communication is right now? Because that unit seems to be having some growing pains.
No, it's the growing pains are real. And you know what I think you see from a group is guys getting frustrated with not playing in cohesion, but attacking it through the relationships that they've built, and being, they're not tapping out, they're not being lethargic to the ball. So these are works in progress. You want it to be sooner, you do everything in your power to be sooner, but you can't replicate, as much as I try, you can't replicate game situations, especially in hostile environments. And I think, point to last year, there was, we made a big focus because we thought that we, kind of started slow defensively. So we made a big focus on starting fast with all those things. Yet, I think, we're heavy rotating and heavy participation with four rookies. I think that plays a part in it. And just guys trying to, it's as simple as trying to make plays individually and falling short as the collective. But I am encouraged by their relentless approach, and they believe in each other, and they haven't tapped. We need to make some progress fast. Um, and it gives me a little optimism because I feel like we were in a similar situation for different reasons last year. Last year it was a new defense to everyone. This year it's a new defense to several players that we're counting on. So you have to make sure. For me, I'd be a lot more nervous, and I've had if I felt the players questioning the wrong things, or the or questioning what the defense is, and I don't hear any of that conversation. I hear constructive stuff about, hey, this is why this happened. We have to stop trying to jump around a block. Put it this way, like, imagine someone who has force, who has to fit and keep his outside arm free, and then depend on pursuit to show up. There's guys that are trying to make that blocker miss and make the play by themselves, and there's a trickle down effect to that. So with young players, I do expect that. These young players in particular are Dolphins that were handpicked because we think that they're capable of making that ascension fast. But I think there's nothing more inspiring for young players than to hear all the stuff that's emphasized, but then feel it in a game that you absolutely like. When you're on the field at Buffalo, like, the only thing you can think about is trying to win, and you'll do anything you can to get that W. And you can say that a lot and tell them, I showed them history of our the last handful of years of our the rivalry and how we've come up short. And they're like, yeah, but it's way different when you're there and you're getting it's a really high intensity atmosphere that feels very similar to a playoff game. So I think the urgency with which we really approach everything will be influenced because you can't replicate those live reps. And that was the first time that, a lot of our guys have been in a situation where, it feels like a playoff football atmosphere, and you have to do the things you have to win playoff games. You have to do those types of things there. So there's I think, a different level of regard for a lot of those guys for how important some of the small things are. And we're just going to be aggressively attacking that and expecting a response pretty close to immediate.
If I may follow that up, and has nothing to do with that same question, but I have a friend who has a theory about you getting the ball and starting the game on offense. And he believes every time you guys score on your first drive and make positive plays, he believes the outcome is different. Have you ever thought about not using that Madden approach and getting the ball in the second half and actually just going on offense and setting the tone?
Omar, sometimes it's like a kindred spirit, my friend. Yeah, I had those thoughts last night.
Okay.
But who knows what I was going to do. But yeah, you have to play. There's a lot of different ways to play football. Things are on the forefront of my mind when you're playing a team as adept as the Buffalo Bills with time of possession. And I did think it was, I think I was proud of the offense. I thought our team needed to feel, a different beginning of the game, and not. And so when we're afforded the opportunity to start with the ball, I thought it was super important that we did something with that drive. it made it easier because it was complementary football, where we had a kick return that really advanced the ball and put it in a situation where if you got 2 first downs, you're probably ending up in points. But the bigger thing was that we kept matriculating the ball down the field, and then it's always a team momentum builder if you can run the ball inside the 5 for a touchdown. So those things, contrary to popular belief, I'm just not like I do believe in trying to gain a possession and deferring, but there's times that it makes the most sense to take the ball and start the game with momentum. And last night may or may not have been one of those times that we would have adjusted, but they deferred and gave us the opportunity to start give the offense and the captain, the franchise quarterback, an opportunity to start the momentum of the game in a positive way.
Thank you.
Alan?
Good morning, Mike. Regards to Ollie Gordon getting more touches last night, was that pre-planned or was that a reaction to how he was running early on when you could see that he maybe was in a groove?
Yeah, it was pre-planned. I think it was I'm not sure how it played out, but in my I was planning about the fourth play to get him involved. You always have to. What you don't want to do with a rookie, and I've failed in this aspect in the past, is you don't want to put him out there before he's ready, because the residuals with his teammates are, you have veteran guys out there, and you have veteran guys that know all the assignments. And when you put a rookie out there that maybe doesn't know what he's doing, that cost is gigantic on him with the locker room. So I've been focused. I've been very intentional about where we thought Ollie was. I thought he could help us on offense, but he had to continue to develop his off-ball responsibilities, and I felt better about it. So it was time for him to add his skill set to what defenses have to defend. I thought he did a really good job having the mindset that I kind of challenged him on, and I know E challenged him on to run behind his pads and not assume that guys can tackle you. And I thought it was an effective tool for us, and it definitely had an impact on the game. So I was proud of his production, and I'm going to continue to challenge him to grow, so we can have him out there as much as I think that balance that we were able to put out there with both utilizing Devon and him was more of my vision. I've been waiting for his preparation, his ownership of the playbook to kind of do that. So I was happy to get that done.
Quick other one, if I may. What's the early outlook for Darren Waller in regards to practice next week and maybe the week 4 game against the Jets?
So basically it was super close with regard to if the game was on Sunday, not Thursday, we probably it would have been a closer shot. I feel very good about this is an important week, but yeah, I have in my mind the expectation that he's going to play against the Jets. His body has to follow through, and we'll take that day by day. But I know he's excited for that this week, and getting a full week underneath his belt of practice before the next game.
Thank you.
We'll close it out here with the last question from David Furonis.
Hey, Mike, I had a separate question, but to follow up on the Ollie question, how does Jalen Wright's renewed health factor in to the touches Ollie will be getting going forward with him available? Right? Did you still plan on having Gordon RB2, and will he continue to maintain that role?
I think Jalen Wright's health is a residual win for all Dolphin supporters, because I think the one thing that is certain is competition brings out the best in people, and I think that those guys owning the entire playbook, how much I can use those guys is kind of up to them. I have firm belief in both those guys, and I think Ollie was able to contribute to the game last night, and that can be that can tip the scales, or it may not, because what that does is it puts competitive pressure with Jalen Wright to be on his stuff, and I'm sure his game is going to rise. And if Ollie doesn't continue to make steps forward, then you can adjust. But right now, I was happy with what Ollie did, and I do plan on incorporating Jalen. He's a guy I really believe in, but I'm the regardless. I think it's super important to have a guy come in and spell Devon and work alongside of him, so that we have more punches to give the defense. We have more ways to hit them, and certainly Ollie's play last night ensures to me that the next game will have a highly productive, not just running back one, but running back two, because regardless, I don't care who's the guy. I want the cream to rise to the top, and I want them to constantly be in competition. That will be an ever evolving thing as we go through the season. So the guys have to be on their stuff, and I think that's a good thing for all Dolphins.
The question I did want to end on was that
Wait a minute.
The play at the end of the half with Josh Allen mishandling the snap on the kneel down that maybe should have been the live ball. I want to get your thoughts on it. Have you been in contact with the league over it? And was there any conversation in the moment, as I'm sure it's a hectic setting with a lot of people already going in for the half?
No, so it was a great exercise in my mental discipline. I saw it. I knew what happened. And I also saw the whistle blow, and I saw them run in. And so then I ran in to prepare for the second half, knowing that he just fumbled, or I thought they did at least. So we'll be in talks with the league that haven't got any feedback yet. But live speed, it appeared to me that it was a fumble with the assumption that it was a clean center quarterback exchange. But we'll see how the league rules it. And for me, I really work at not expending emotional energy on past things that I can't fix. Unless I'm communicating, I'll get mad on game day if I think whatever I'm getting mad at will have an effect on stuff moving forward. Otherwise, I don't think it's appropriate for everyone to wait around while I have an adult temper tantrum. I'm gonna try to. I ran inside and worked on the plays coming out of the half.